Joe, Budden clowns Rory and Maul for firing Julian.
Nobody got fired. We didn't downsize. Looking to add some ensemble cast members. I mean, everybody's here. No trouble in sight. Gorgeous outside, actually. No mysteries. You know what I mean? What you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Hey, invest in the business, man. Gotta invest in the business. How's everybody doing?
On the last episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden would make fun of his former business partners' profit shares, 15% stakeholders, by making light of how they had to let go of Julian. For those of you that don't know, Julian was a prominent member of the Rory and Maul podcast, but Rory and Maul decided to let him go and say it was due to business decisions, and even gave him a really short send-off on one of their most recent episodes.
Before we get out of here, obviously I've seen some comments on Twitter, on IG. Clearly, Julian is no longer with the podcast. We wish him the absolute best. Love to him. But yes, he's no longer part of the pod. Appreciate all the contributions. And salute to him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. We'll be back.
But it looks like Julian wasn't really feeling it, as he would send some cryptic messages on his Instagram account.
I just have to see how things play out before I step out and say anything. You know, I can talk. I'm just being patient, and it's tough to be patient, but it's the smart thing and right thing to do.
Which means that this went horribly wrong. Now, what Joe said on his podcast was, there's no mysteries, there's no things going on, the whole cast is coming back. And, oh man, we all know he's talking about Julian and Rory and Maul. On top of that, he took some more shots when he said, invest in the business. Now, if you don't know, a lot of the split between Rory, Maul, and Joe was about how to spend the profits of the podcast. It seemed like Joe was very much loving to take the money that they made and put it right back into the show. But Rory and Maul didn't really enjoy that and wanted to see more of the profits and become a little bit more wealthy. I think that's what Rory and Maul think. And I think Joe thought the opposite, because when I used to be on Spaces with Joe, he would often criticize Rory and Maul for not increasing the work rate and not putting money back into the business. Now, there's another part of this that people are forgetting, as Julian has a long history with Joe because he would clown him on his social media and playing some of his verses. And, you know, there was this song Joe Budden did back in the day where he said something about making someone feel it in their ribs, and he was basically joking about how Joe has a past with DV charges and whatnot.
And why are you sending shots at Joe? What's up with you, man?
Oh my God,
you did that.
Dude.
You can't blame
I said
me
this on Spaces
for being messy.
No, yeah, you're supposed to ask. Yeah. It's like, dude, I was on a bunch of shrooms and I was laughing and hanging out with my friend. I think people think I care way more than I do. Because, you know, they're like, it's you're in this thing, you're in the circus, you chose a side. I didn't choose a side. Like, so I don't know, it was funny. Rory and I may have been talking about it. Like, I sent him a tweet that was a freestyle bar, I think that he said, from like some old freestyle. And there was a comment. Yeah, I was like, oh, like he's been getting mentioned a bunch in this. We were just like kind of laughing about certain, like, just artists, whatever, that her names have been getting mentioned. And I think I like said like, oh, I have this clip. This is funny. And he was like, whatever.
But I also want to focus on something else Joe said, which was that there's no mysteries about the cast. I disagree. What happened to J1? Now, this was something I got a lot of flack for, because when he was on my Spaces, he was saying that they had negotiated a 3-month contract, and I was so befuddled that I had to keep asking him the same question, because I never in the history of my life have seen a 3-month contract. And then even Joe on Spaces said that he didn't even know J1 wasn't coming back until J1 said something. So I think something is up. I still think J1 is misrepresenting what happened. I truly believe that the podcast did not want him back, regardless of what anyone says. And that's why I asked the question so much. But let me know what you think about Joe's shots at Rory and Mal and how they handled the Julian situation. I was surprised to see Joe go there. I thought he would leave it alone, largely because Rory and Mal didn't say anything about the sleepwalking case. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe they just don't want to go back and forth with Joe. And this is kind of what the danger is with Joe, is sometimes when you take the high ground with him, he will take the low ground when you least expect it. So you kind of just, leaving it, not mentioning him and just being cool. But we have to be fair to Joe, as Maul did make a slight sleepwalking comment, and that may be why Joe felt comfortable letting the shots go off in regards to Julian. Now, this is a interesting situation moving forward. Will Rory and Maul respond, or will they let it go? I don't know, man. The number's got a number, and I think it's time. I mean, I was just looking at some people on a pod the other day speaking, and I was like, damn, man, their numbers aren't numbering like they used to. It's sad, just kind of how, like, people invest a lot of money and, they got a great set, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And hopefully you just hope people find their North Star, find their guidance, find a way to the North. Sometimes that's all you need. But like I said, this was an interesting episode. Shout out to Joe for releasing episodes earlier and earlier. I see that he has his staff humming along. I do wonder what changes they have for 2025 as the podcast will enter its 10-year anniversary. Remember, it started many years ago, and now they are one of the longest running podcasts in the game. One of the few there's no guest on the pod, so just a different type of beast for the show. And it's cool to see them arrive at this situation, go through many reinterpretations of their formula, whether it be Marissa, whether it be Rory and Maul, whether it be Ish and Ice, whether it be Melissa Ford and Flip. Just a bunch of reborns, retreads, figuring things out, trying new things, seeing what works, listening to the fans, not listening to the fans, new sets, different cameras. Just a lot of changes over the years, and a decade is a really long time to survive in the new medium of podcasting. But that's my video for now. Make sure you follow me on Instagram to Stop TV. Make sure you follow me on Twitter to Stop TV. Also, subscribe to my Patreon, as if you subscribe to my Patreon, you get access to my Discord. I have completely locked up my Discord, and the only people who can join it now are folks who become Patreon subscribers at least once. And what happens on that Discord? A lot of the stoppers congregate, talk about media. I participate a lot on that Discord. But on top of the Discord access, the most important thing is the Patreon. There's over 100 pieces of original content on there, which makes it really, really valuable. And it's just $3 a month, so it's really good stuff. With that said, this is Danny from The Stop. Peace.